race.
Cheers.
Talk us through that last lap.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of 5Ks on TV, and the few slow ones that take place, which there aren't many, you always wish you were a part of those. And then I was finally there. Then with the bell, I wasn't ready to gun it like I would in a 15, and they all fanned out 2-3 lanes wide. So that maybe I'll wait till the last 150, try and pick up 3rd or 4th or something. Then suddenly as I went, I was covering up the gaps and I got into the lead. But it's a long straightaway into the wind and the crowd was going nuts. I thought it was for me, but Ben True was the local hero coming through. So that was very exciting.
Yeah, you sat back towards the end of the pack for most of the race, just biding time. Was that your strategy, just to sit and then...
I mean, honestly, my main strategy was to try and finish the race. With this heat, you have no idea how your body's going to react. If you stay under that red line, you can run pretty close to your best, but if you cross it, it's all over. So I really made a concerted effort pre-race to cover myself with ice. I put ice in my hat, kept on drenching my t-shirt in ice, drank as much SOS as I could possibly afford to do before the race, and yeah, and then suddenly with 2 laps to go, they didn't go. That's sort of my downfall in a 5K. 800 to go, if people push it, I'm toast. But they didn't, so I was like, alright, 600 to go, I've got a chance here.
So open up the season, the outdoor season here with a 5K. What was the thought process there, you know, stepping up in distance?
Basically I was trying to replicate what I did last year, but push everything back a month. Last year I opened with Oxy in the 5K. So the Worlds are a whole month later than the Commonwealth Games were last year, so this was the meet that fell into that calendar. Doing the 5K wasn't about trying to get second here tonight or first, it was more so about accountability to getting in the training. All of those midweek runs where you need to log 90 minutes, but it's easy to say, I'll just cut it short at 75. You can't afford to do that if you're going to run a 5K. In a 15 you can, but there's nowhere to hide in a 12.5 lap race. So I had to keep doing. Basically my shortest run was 90 minutes for the last 3 months, plus a 2-hour long run, so very strong, and it seems like the speed is sufficient. In some ways I might have a little worry that I ran too well in this race, that still 13 weeks to go. I guess one of my downfalls of late has been peaking too early. So we'll reassess and decide what we're going to do for the next 7 weeks before the Monaco 1500.
Will it be all 1500s for the rest of the season? I know last year you did 5K also, but
2 15s in Europe, 1 off the plane, and then one in Monaco. Sort of my favourite meet to go to, and then go back to altitude after the successful indoor campaign. So we'll spend a lonely month up in Flagstaff in August, while we'd rather be up at our cottage in northern Michigan, but my wife and I realise it's a necessary sacrifice. It won't be the hub of middle distance running like it was during the indoor season. Everyone will be in Europe, but we're going to give it a real crack. This is our last year to sort of experiment before a championship. I don't want next year to be the experimental year before the Olympics.
Speaking of experiments, you did that relay race against the high schoolers earlier this week, I think, or the weekend. How'd you come up with that idea? That was kind of interesting.
Well, they actually reached out to me to see if there was anything I could think of that would help their efforts in raising money for their new track surface. And what kept popping in the back of my mind was I needed a time trial, some harder effort that I couldn't replicate in training prior to this race. So that idea just came to me. Let's do a road mile, and it would probably be similar effort if you guys have a relay teams and I'll run it solo, and that was, I think, a big help for today. Alright, cheers guys.